Hi, I'm Bill Perkins. Welcome to Compass TV. If you love the Lord, love your Bible, and love to learn, you're going to love this presentation. Few people have had the impact on the defense of Christian and conservative values as Phyllis Schlafly. In 1964, her book, A Choice, Not an Echo, became a bestseller. In 1972, she created the nonprofit ministry Eagle Forum and quickly became a leader in the conservative movement. Battling the radical feminist of the day with her articulate and hard-nosed style, she won the hearts of conservatives across the nation. Enjoy her presentation, War on Religious Liberties.
Received her BA from Washington University in St. Louis, where she worked her way through college on the night shift, testing .30 and .50 caliber ammunition. She then received a master's degree from Harvard University. After the age of 50, she went to law school and received her law degree from Washington University in St. Louis. She founded Eagle Forum in 1972 to encourage the grassroots to be politically active. She led the 10-year battle to successfully defeat the ratification of the so-called Equal Rights Amendment. Phyllis Schlafly is the author of 20 books on such diverse topics as politics, national defense, the courts, feminism, and even a phonics textbook for children called First Reader. Her newest book, just released this month, is No Higher Power, Obama's War on Religious Freedom. Please welcome Phyllis Schlafly. Please welcome Phyllis Schlafly.
Thank you very much, Ann, and good morning, students. There are a lot of good books about Obama, different aspects of his career, but there wasn't one on a very important issue, and that's why I wrote this one, No Higher Power, Obama's War on Religious Freedom. On October 31st, 2008, Barack Obama said, "We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States." Few Americans realized how radical that was and what kind of transformation he planned. His goal is not merely to spread the wealth, as he told Joe the plumber. His goal is to transform America from one nation under God, as we proudly proclaim in our Pledge of Allegiance, to a totally secular country where we're allowed to recognize no higher power than the federal government, especially the executive branch. When Obama moved into the White House, the groundwork for this campaign of secularism had already been laid by dozens of lawsuits filed by the ACLU and various atheist organizations, petitioning supremacist judges to use the First Amendment to tear down all crosses and monuments or pictures of the Ten Commandments that are visible to the public, and to cut off the microphones of public school students thanking God in their valedictory speeches, and to forbid school kids to sing Christmas carols. At Obama's campaign stops, his liberal friends chanted that he is the one we've been waiting for. As soon as he moved into the White House, Obama began his long series of words and actions to secularize our country. He's trying to make the U.S. a totally secular nation. The goal was predictable when he was campaigning in San Francisco before he was elected. Here are Obama's insulting words about religious people in the United States. He said they get bitter, they cling to guns or religion, or antipathy to people who are not like them, who are anti-immigrant or anti-trade, as a way to explain their frustrations. Obama looks down on religious people. Obama has a record of hostility to religion that we have never before seen in any American president. One of his first executive orders in January 2009 was to reverse the practice of the Bush administration and start giving taxpayer money to organizations that perform abortions in other countries. In February 2009, he announced the elimination of conscience protections that allowed pro-life doctors and nurses in federally funded hospitals to opt out of performing abortions. In April 2009, Obama delivered a speech at Georgetown University only after his staff had pressured the Catholic College to cover up the monogram for the name of Jesus that was always displayed above the podium. The next thing we noticed was that when President Obama recites the Declaration of Independence, he changes the wording. When he quotes the Great Declaration, he censors out the word Creator. We all know that the Declaration proclaims that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And again, when Obama recites this line, he omits the word Creator. Obama has done this so often that it cannot be a slip of the tongue or a glitch of the teleprompter. It's deliberate. He changing the words of the Declaration of Independence is part of his determination to remove everything religious and every mention of God from every aspect of our public life. Obama canceled the traditional White House event honoring the National Day of Prayer, saying he would pray only in private. In a November 2010 speech, Obama pretended to quote the U.S. national motto, which is, "In God we trust." I guess he couldn't bring himself to say God, so he mistakenly said, "Our official motto is E pluribus unum." When Obama gave the traditional presidential Thanksgiving Day address in 2011, he again failed to mention God. It wasn't clear who he was thanking on this uniquely American holiday, but it certainly was not God. The U.S. Constitution makes it a prime duty of the president to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. And we all saw Obama at his inauguration swear an oath to uphold the laws of the United States. But apparently Obama thinks he can pick and choose which laws to enforce and which he can overturn. In February 2011, Obama instructed his Justice Department not to defend the Federal Defense of Marriage Act, known as DOMA, which was overwhelmingly passed by a bipartisan Congress, but is now under attack in the federal courts by the homosexual activists trying to get supremacist judges to declare it unconstitutional. In September 2011, Obama, who is determined to defy the Federal Defense of Marriage Act, ordered the Pentagon to authorize the performance of same-sex marriage ceremonies on military bases, thus violating not only the federal law, but also the traditional First Amendment rights that have always been accorded to military chaplains. Barack Obama must think that his title of Commander-in-Chief enables him to banish religion from the U.S. military. In July 2011, Obama's Department of Veterans Affairs banned any mention of Jesus Christ during the burials at Houston National Cemetery. Hundreds of demonstrators turned out on Independence Day to protest and to support a lawsuit against that ban. After that, the ban was lifted. In September 2011, the U.S. Army issued guidelines for Walter Reed Hospital that read, "No religious items, such as Bibles and reading materials, are allowed to be given away or used during a visit." The hospital rescinded that policy only after Congressman Steve King reported it to the House of Representatives. Steve King said, "This order means you cannot bring in a Bible and read from it when you visit your son in the Veterans Hospital. It means a priest coming to visit a veteran on his deathbed could not offer the last rites. This is outrageous." Well, the Walter Reed Hospital officials were embarrassed, and they did cancel that policy. In February 2012, responding to complaints from atheists, the Air Force removed the Latin word for God, Dei, from the logo of the Rapid Capabilities Office, and also removed the motto, written in Latin, which means doing God's work with other people's money. The new logo says, doing miracles with other people's money. In February 2012, the U.S. Army warned Catholic chaplains not to read from an archbishop's letter opposing the Obama administration's mandate that all employers, including religious hospitals, schools, and colleges, must pay for abortion drugs, contraceptives, and sterilizations for their employees. Most people found it shocking that an order could be issued telling chaplains that they cannot say to members of their own faith during a religious service. Obama has been trying to load the federal courts with anti-religious judges. His first appointment to the federal judiciary was David Hamilton, and alas, he is typical. He had worked for Acorn and for Indiana's ACLU. He was known for blocking pro-life and pro-decency laws. Even the left-leaning American Bar Association called him not qualified. In 2005, when Hamilton was a federal district court judge, he banned a prayer used in the Indiana legislature that mentioned Jesus Christ. And he ordered the Indiana legislature to refrain from using Christ's name or title or any denominational appeal. However, at the same time, Hamilton said it is permissible for the legislature to use the word Allah. Fortunately, that decision was overturned on appeal. However, President Obama then promoted David Hamilton to a lifetime judgeship on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit. Federal Judge Michael Urbanski is another ACLU-type judicial appointment made by President Obama. Urbanski must take the cake for having the most extraordinary, exalted notion of his own power. Urbanski suggested in court that the 10 Commandments be censored down to 6 commandments in order to make the posting of the commandments legal under the First Amendment. Obama's most outrageous attack on religious liberty is his executive order in ObamaCare that the requirements to impose that the requirements violate their religion. 23 new lawsuits have been filed in 14 states challenging the ObamaCare mandate on the religious liberty argument. These lawsuits involve 50 plaintiffs, including Protestant and Catholic colleges, religious schools serving inner-city children, and charities providing care for the abused and neglected. If these lawsuits are not successful, all those institutions will have to close their doors. Through speeches and executive branch regulations, Barack Obama is trying to force religious worship to be private only, behind closed doors. He's willing for you to worship inside your church. That's why he doesn't talk about religious liberty. He talks only about freedom of worship, which means inside your church, or maybe a synagogue, but not have any Christian symbols such as the cross or, say, a prayer in any public place. Obama's regulation in ObamaCare shows how far he wants to take this new policy, that there is no higher power than the federal government. Churches have traditionally enjoyed a religious exemption from employment laws, but Obama wants this exemption to apply only to what goes on inside churches, but not to any of the many institutions built and managed by people of faith, such as hospitals, schools, colleges, and various charitable institutions. Obama wants those organizations to be bound by his secular rules. A prime example of his hostility to religion is the Supreme Court case called Hosanna Tabor Evangelical Lutheran Church and School versus EEOC. The church had fired one of its minister teachers in its church school, and she sued to get her job back. With the help of Obama's lawyers, this case got up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Obama's lawyer made the astonishing argument that the federal government could force the Lutheran Church to rehire this woman in their school, their own school. Obama's argument was so ludicrous that in January 2012, the Supreme Court justices voted 9-0 against the Obama position. It was so over the top that even Elena Kagan voted against it. Now, nearly every American president, starting with George Washington, spoke publicly about their religious faith, including a lot of the presidents I don't even like. but they all did. And there are plenty of those. Our founding fathers who wrote the First Amendment would be shocked at how Barack Obama is trying to redefine the First Amendment. In 1814, Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner and included the line, "This be our motto, in God is our trust." Congress made "In God we trust" our national motto, and it's on all your money. It's time for the American people to realize how fundamental is the transformation that Obama is trying to bring about in America. And this is our year to bring it to an end. Okay.
Questions? Oh, over there.
Hi, I'm Cheney. I'm from the University of Virginia. I notice in a lot of my Christian friends a real apathy when it comes to political issues. Do you think that this issue could be something that motivates the church to get back involved in politics? And if so, how do we articulate it in order to get them excited?
Well, that's why I wrote it. I thought a lot of other good books about Obama and showing his scandals and how he's taking us into European-style socialism and many other things he's doing wrong, such as violating a lot of our laws, but nobody had written about this one. So I have a co-author, George Neumeyer, who collaborated on this book, did a lot of the research for it, and I hope it is something that will make the religious people realize we've got our future at stake. Get with it. And you know, I have seen polls that 50% of the evangelicals are among the non-voters. And we need them this year. Get your friends to get out there and be sure they get registered and vote.
Other questions? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Schlafly, how do you keep going? At 87 years old, you probably are more relevant and more important today than when you first started in 1972. How do you do it?
Well, I think this great, wonderful country that the Lord has blessed us with need people from the grassroots in our self-governing country to be with it. I have enjoyed politics as my hobby all my life. I've been fortunate in a lot of ways. My husband was very supportive of everything I did. All my 6 children were healthy, and I guess I enjoyed the contest of it, and of course we had our big victory. It is fun to win. Now, you don't always win. You don't always win. You have some losses, but this is one we have to win. But I can tell you, it is very exhilarating to win.
First, Braden.
Thank you. Braden Goodgame, Georgia State University. I was wondering if there was any way that we could get all the information that you just gave to us in a bulleted format so that we can make that more relevant on our...
To get it where?
In a bulleted format, or maybe just a transcript of what...
Well, it's not a long book, and it's... It's just published. It's out this week. We rushed to get it out before the election. And I don't know, this I think will be in C-SPAN. Maybe you can get copies of that.
Well, thank you very much.
What I do is tell people more facts and fewer words than anything in print. So I've given you the executive summary this morning.
All right, thank you.
Garrett Vandekamp, Samford University. A few years ago, there was talk about government funding for faith-based organizations that provide social services. Some suggested that such government funding should be banned, while others suggested that we should fund all faith-based charities, such as those from Jewish and Islamic faiths, as well as other, standard secular organizations. What is your view on government funding and, I guess, tax relief for faith-based faith-based.
Well, I'm not a fan of government funding for faith-based organizations. I have followed the actions of the Catholic Charities, for example, which gets a great deal of taxpayers' money. And I think they're mostly supportive of Obama and a lot of the things I don't like. And I think most of the Catholics who contributed to it think it's just going to help poor people and feed poor people. But that's not it. It's going to organizations like Acorn and other activist left-wing organizations. And then there is a danger that if you give government money to faith-based organizations, they're going to have to comply with certain rules. Now, that's certainly true with this new government mandate, and that should be a tremendous alert to any of the religious-based organizations. Many denominations maintain schools. Of course, the Catholic hospital network is just tremendous in this country, and the idea that they have to abandon their religious beliefs in order to function as a hospital or school is just simply unacceptable. And yet Obama is trying to put out the notion that there is no higher power than the federal government. And he offered what he called an accommodation, which was really giving them a year to violate the contract. We'll defer punishing you, and punishing them means financial death for the organizations. I will tell you that many Catholics were very shocked several years ago when Notre Dame invited Obama to be their commencement speaker. It was a big flap. Well, I read the brief they filed against this Obama mandate on schools and colleges, and it is a brilliant brief. It is worth reading. I think it's about, I don't know, 50, 75 pages. And it sets it out one after another. And religious freedom in this country has got to mean that Christian schools and colleges and hospitals do not have to violate their religious beliefs in order to provide insurance, health insurance to their employees.
Thank you, Phyllis, for everything you do. I have a lot of Christian friends that they just don't want to be involved in politics. You know, they just see it as a dirty thing or so much fighting or whatever and a headache, and they just don't want to get involved. And so I was wondering if you have any advice for us how we can engage some of the more apathetic Christians, some of the people that just don't see the importance of taking action and being involved.
Well, that's a good question. As I point the high percentage of evangelicals who don't vote, and I hope anybody here who's an evangelical will get all your friends to vote. In Eagle Forum, we have done a pretty good job of getting a lot of religious people of all denominations to cooperate in the causes that we've worked for. Starting with defeating the Equal Rights Amendment, but there are many others. I think we're the ones who have really made the Republican Party pro-life by a fight at the Republican National Convention every 4 years. And there are many other tasks that we've taken off. Some people are even giving us credit for defeating the Law of the Sea Treaty right now, because we do believe in American sovereignty. So that's one way. But this book, telling you you're going to lose your religious liberty if Obama's reelected. I think he really meant it when he said he wanted to fundamentally transform our country. That's pretty fundamental. Redefining the First Amendment. And you surely are aware of the many lawsuits that have been filed by the ACLU and the atheists to take down the crosses. Some are from California. Those two big crosses in California that the lawsuits have gone on for years. And how they're trying to get rid of the Ten Commandments. We participated in financing a project to hang the Ten Commandments on the walls of all the public schools in Kentucky a number of years ago. The court threw that out. I've got one of those copies in my office, but they wouldn't let them in the school. And you're needed to get your religious friends to realize the future of our country depends on people like you participating in political action. Help some candidate get elected. Make sure you vote against the wrong one. And if you're not enthusiastic about the other guy, some people object to voting what they say is the lesser of two evils. I just remind them somebody's going to be elected to those offices, and Jesus is not on the ballot. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Schlafly, for having me here. I'm one of your travel scholars, and I know I've thanked you before.
Just talk a little closer into your mic.
Thank you, Ms. Schlafly, for being here, or for having me here. I'm one of your travel scholars. I've thanked you before, but I wanted to thank you again. And my question, or I have a statement first. You know, as Christians, you know, we're called to, when we see an opportunity to do good, that we're supposed to do it, and especially in the interest of defending our faith. And so I would ask you the question, you know, especially with what's at stake at this election, would it be considered, you know, immoral not to go out and vote to defend our faith and defend our religious liberty?
Well, I'm encouraging everybody to vote and change the administration that we have at the present time. But I'm not going to judge the morality. You've got your own relationship with God. I'm not interfering with that. But I do think it's very important. I want to get everybody out to vote. We need everyone. And I think John Fund gave us a very important presentation today. Counting the ballots is just as important as casting the ballots. And we don't know. We may have a lot of vote fraud in this election. And the trouble is a lot of people don't see it. Nobody's going to steal ballots in my precinct. The kind of precinct I live in, that isn't where they do their stealing. It's in other areas where they already have a heavy Democratic majority, and they just jack it up to near unanimous. And we do need the men to go there. There's just a lot of areas I know about that I can't send my girls into. So we need the men to do it. It might be dangerous. They might beat you up. It's been known to happen. But I hope you can encourage and make them. There's so many big issues. I think the dependency on government, and one of Obama's hopes is to make more and more people dependent on government. That's what he's been doing. We've got 47% of the American people now who are getting all or part of their living expenses from the taxpayers. And that's terrible. I grew up during the Great Depression. We didn't have any of these handouts. We grew up to be the greatest generation. And it's making people dependent on government. How many of you have seen that little slideshow, The Life of Julia? None. You ought to see it. It was put on by the Obama people. This was not created by people who don't like Obama. And it shows the whole life of Julia. She starts out dependent on the government when she's going to pre-K. And then she goes through, and the government's helping all the schools and colleges along the way. And then she has a baby, no sign of a husband. The government's helping, taking care of her. And finally she ends up on Social Security and Medicare at the end. And the whole life is made possible by the government. That's not the kind of country we want. And you look at Europe. We don't want to be like Europe. And we don't want any of these UN treaties, because we don't need any foreign experts meeting in Geneva or Belgium or any place else to tell us what to do. We believe in freedom. And the first As I say, I think every president we've ever had, including all the ones I don't like, spoke publicly about their faith and belief in God and asking God's blessing, and God bless America, and the Pledge of Allegiance, and one nation under God. And we don't want anybody taking that away from us. You know, there have been lawsuits even against the Pledge of Allegiance. They have not succeeded with those yet. But who knows if one of the greatest powers of the president is the power to appoint judges. If Obama appoints another Elena Kagan, that will control our country for the next 50 years. We can't afford that. So you're all revved up for this election? Good.
This has been Obama's War on Religious Liberties, presented by Phyllis Schlafly. To receive a free catalog of over 250 awesome Bible studies on DVD or CD, all using and defending a literal translation of the Bible, information on upcoming Bible conferences in your area, or details of our missionary outreach and trips to Israel, call Compass at 1-800-977-2177 24 hours a day, or visit us on the web at compass.org.